Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge and watched the alien ship approach. It was beautiful in a strange way. The vessel looked like a crystal flower, floating in the darkness of space. He had never seen anything like it in his 20 years of service. "They're hailing us again, Captain," said Lieutenant Lisa Chen from her station. She was the ship's medical officer, but today she was also their best hope at understanding these aliens. Lisa had studied alien biology for years, even though they had never met any aliens until now. Jake nodded. "Put them through." The screen flickered and showed a face that made everyone on the bridge go quiet. She looked almost human, but not quite. Her skin had a soft blue glow to it. Her eyes were larger than human eyes and colored like purple galaxies. She wore robes that seemed to shift colors as she moved. "I am Princess Zarathel of the Velkari Empire," she said. Her voice was musical and clear. "We come in peace to meet the humans of Earth." Jake straightened his uniform. "I am Captain Jake Morrison. Welcome to our ship, Princess. We are honored by your visit." The princess smiled, and it seemed genuine. "The honor is ours, Captain. We have watched your world from afar for many years. Your species fascinates us." Over the next few hours, the two ships docked together. Jake assembled his best people to meet the alien delegation. Besides Lisa, he brought Commander Alex Rodriguez, their military expert, and several others who could help with the historic meeting. The airlock opened with a hiss. Princess Zarathel stepped through, followed by 4 other Velkari. One of them was tall and wore formal robes covered in symbols. Jake guessed he was an ambassador or similar rank. "Welcome aboard the Horizon's Edge," Jake said, extending his hand. The princess looked at his hand for a moment, then reached out and touched it gently. Her skin was warm but felt different somehow, softer than human skin. "Thank you, Captain," she said. "This is Ambassador Krelvan, my advisor and diplomat." The tall Velkari bowed slightly. "A pleasure to meet you, Captain Morrison." They moved to the conference room that Jake had prepared. The humans had put out food and drinks, though they weren't sure if the aliens could eat any of it. The Velkari had brought gifts, too. Strange crystals that glowed with inner light and objects that hummed with quiet energy. As they talked, Jake started to notice something odd. The princess and her people seemed tired. Not sick, just tired. They moved slowly and carefully. When they sat down, they seemed relieved to be off their feet. "Is everything all right, Princess?" Lisa asked. She had noticed it too. Zarathel looked surprised by the question. "Of course. Why do you ask?" "You seem fatigued," Lisa said gently. "We want to make sure you're comfortable." The princess exchanged glances with Ambassador Krelvan. He spoke up. "Forgive us. We forget that you do not know our ways. We have been active for nearly 3 hours now. We will need to rest soon." Jake blinked. 3 hours? They had only been talking for about an hour, and before that, just the ship docking and walking through corridors. That couldn't be more than 2 hours total of light activity. "I don't understand," Jake said. "You need to rest after 3 hours?" "Yes," the ambassador said, as if it was obvious. "Is this not normal for your species as well?" Lisa leaned forward with interest. "How long do you typically rest?" 16 hours each day, the princess said. "Sometimes more if we have been very active. We can manage perhaps 8 hours of total activity, but not all at once. We must take breaks." The humans looked at each other. Jake could see the same thought in everyone's eyes. These aliens rested for 16 hours? That was more than double what humans needed. "What about your people?" the princess asked. "How long do you rest?" "About 7 to 8 hours, Jake said. Some people need a bit more, some a bit less." The princess's eyes went wide. "You rest for only 8 hours? What do you do for the other 16 hours of your day?" "Work, mostly. Commander Rodriguez said with a slight smile. "We have people working on the ship at all times. Different shifts, different jobs." "All times?" The princess looked confused. "Your people can be active for 16 hours continuously?" "Well, we take breaks for meals and such," Lisa explained. "But yes, many humans can work for 12 to 16 hours if needed, with proper rest breaks, of course." Zarathel stood up slowly, looking around the bridge area, visible through the conference room windows. "You mean your crew has been working this entire time we have been talking?" "Yes," Jake said. "We run 3 shifts. Each shift is about 8 hours. Right now it's the beta shift. They'll work until the gamma shift takes over in about 5 more hours." The princess sat back down, and she looked genuinely shocked. 5 more hours? After already working 3 hours? "They started their shift about 3 hours ago, yes," Jake confirmed. "So they have 5 hours left." Ambassador Krelvan was writing notes rapidly on a strange device. "This is remarkable. Your species can truly sustain activity for such extended periods?" "That's normal for us," Lisa said. "Some jobs require even longer hours in emergency situations. Medical staff, for example, sometimes work for 24 hours straight during crises." 24 hours! The princess looked like she might faint. "That is impossible. No living being could survive such strain." Jake was beginning to understand that this was a fundamental difference between their species. "Princess, perhaps we should show you our daily routines. You might find it educational." "I would very much like to see this," Zarathel said, though she still looked doubtful. "But first I must ask for forgiveness. We need to rest now. Even this conversation has taxed us." The humans set up quarters for their guests. The Velkari went to rest, and Jake called a meeting with his senior staff. "They can only work 3 hours at a time," Lisa said, shaking her head in wonder. "Their entire biology is different from ours." "This explains a lot," Rodriguez added. "We wondered why their empire took 300 years to spread across just 5 star systems. If they can only work a few hours a day, everything would take much longer." Jake looked out at the stars. "And they've been watching us. They know we spread across our solar system in less than a century." "They must think we're superhuman," Lisa said with a smile. "Maybe to them we are," Jake replied. The next day would bring more surprises. The princess had questions, and Jake had a feeling that the answers would change everything between their 2 species. Princess Zarathel woke after 14 hours of rest. She felt refreshed, though still amazed by what she had learned the day before. The humans rested for only 8 hours. It seemed impossible, yet they had not lied to her. She could sense truth in their words. She dressed in fresh robes and made her way to the dining hall where Captain Morrison had invited her for breakfast. When she arrived, she saw something that made her stop in the doorway. The same crew members she had seen yesterday were there. The woman at the communications station, the young man working on the ship's controls, the engineer she had passed in the hallway. They were all still working. "Good morning, Princess," Jake said, standing up from his table. "I hope you rested well." "Yes, thank you," she said, but she was still staring at the crew. "Captain, those people. I saw them working yesterday before I went to rest." "That's right," Jake said, looking confused. "Is something wrong?" "But that was 14 hours ago. Have they been working this entire time?" Jake checked his watch. "Oh, no. They finished their shift and slept for about 7 hours. They've been back on duty for about 6 hours now." Zarathel felt dizzy. She sat down quickly. "They worked 8 hours, rested 7 hours, and now they have been working for 6 more hours?" "That's correct," Lisa Chen said, joining them with a tray of food. "That's a pretty normal routine for us." The princess tried to understand. These humans had been active for 14 hours out of the last 21 hours. Her people could never do such a thing. They would collapse from exhaustion. Ambassador Krelvan joined them, along with a Velkari scholar named Temris, who specialized in biology. They had come to study the humans and learn their secrets. "Princess," Temris said quietly in their language, "I have been monitoring the humans. Their vital signs remain stable even after extended activity. It is extraordinary." During breakfast, Zarathel watched the humans eat. They consumed their food quickly but seemed to enjoy it. They talked and laughed while eating. They showed no signs of the deep fatigue she would expect after so much activity. "Tell me, Captain," she said, "how many times can your people perform difficult tasks in a single day?" Jake thought about it. "That depends on the task. Why do you ask?" "Among my people, we can perform perhaps 2 major efforts each day," she explained, "if we must fight or solve complex problems or do heavy physical work. We can do this maybe twice before we must rest for a very long time." "I see," Lisa said, clearly interested. "For humans, it varies, but most healthy adults can handle multiple demanding tasks throughout the day." "How many?" the princess pressed. She needed to know. Commander Rodriguez spoke up. "In military training, we routinely do 5 or 6 intense activities per day. Morning exercises, combat drills, classroom learning, more physical training, equipment maintenance, and tactical planning, all in one day." Zarathel's hand trembled slightly. 5 or 6? In one rotation of your planet?" "Yes," Rodriguez said. "And in emergency situations, we can push even harder." The princess looked at Ambassador Krelvan. He looked as shocked as she felt. Scholar Temris was writing notes frantically. "I must ask you something directly," Zarathel said, setting down her cup. "How many times can your species cope with physical and mental stress in a single rotation of your planet?" The humans looked at each other, seeming confused by the question. "Cope with stress?" Jake repeated. "You mean, how many difficult things can we do in a day?" "Yes," the princess said. "How many times can you face a challenge, overcome it, rest briefly, and then face another challenge? How many times before you must stop for the day?" Lisa pulled out a small device and started making notes. "Well, it depends on the intensity, but I'd say the average human can handle significant stress responses about 5 to 8 times per day, assuming adequate nutrition and short rest periods between events." 5 to 8 times, Zarathel whispered. She felt like the universe had shifted around her. "Princess, are you all right?" Jake asked with concern. "No," she said honestly. "I am not all right. What you describe should not be possible." "Why not?" Lisa asked gently. "Because my people can do this only 2, perhaps 3 times," the princess said. "If we push ourselves to 3 major efforts in one day, we must rest for a full day afterward. Sometimes longer." The humans were quiet for a moment. "That would explain a lot," Rodriguez said thoughtfully. "Your empire has incredible technology, but you've expanded very slowly. You have only 5 star systems after 300 years of space travel." "Yes," Ambassador Krelvan said stiffly. "Our progress is measured. While humans reached Mars in less than a century after our first flight," Jake said. "And we've colonized our entire solar system in just 200 years. Zarathel felt something cold in her stomach. Fear, perhaps, or maybe awe. "You move so fast because you can work so much. You do not need to rest as we do." "Our bodies recover quickly," Lisa explained. "We have efficient cooling systems. We sweat, which allows us to regulate our temperature and avoid overheating during exertion. Our metabolism processes stress hormones rapidly. We can be exhausted, rest for 30 minutes, and be ready to go again." 30 minutes? Scholar Temris looked up from his notes. "You can recover from exhaustion in 30 minutes?" "From moderate exhaustion, yes," Lisa said. "Full exhaustion might take a few hours, but we don't need a full sleep cycle to recover from exertion." The princess stood up abruptly. "I do not believe this. It is too far beyond what should be possible." "We can demonstrate if you'd like," Jake offered. "Yes, Zarathel said firmly. Yes, I would like to see proof. Because if what you say is true, then your species is far more formidable than we ever imagined. Jake smiled. We're not trying to be formidable, Princess. This is just how we are. That, she said quietly, is what makes it so terrifying. They spent the rest of the meal planning a demonstration. The humans would show the Velkari exactly what they could do in a single day. Jake suggested using one of his Marines as the test subject. Sergeant Kyle Peterson volunteers for special assignments, Jake said. He's a good man, strong, smart, and he won't mind being studied. We will monitor everything, Scholar Temris said eagerly. Heart rate, brain activity, muscle function, stress hormones, everything. Whatever you need to do, Jake agreed. We have nothing to hide. As the meeting ended, Zarathel pulled Jake aside. Captain, I must be honest with you. If your people can truly do what you claim, it changes everything. What do you mean? Jake asked. It means your species has a power we never anticipated, she said. The power to simply keep going, to work when others must rest, to recover when others would fail. That is a kind of strength empires are built on. Jake was quiet for a moment. Princess, we're not looking to build an empire. We're just looking for friends among the stars. She studied his face and saw sincerity there. I hope that remains true, Captain, because a species that can cope with stress 8 times a day while we can manage only twice. Such a species could dominate the galaxy if they wished. We don't wish to dominate anyone, Jake said firmly. We just want to survive and thrive, hopefully alongside new friends. Zarathel nodded slowly. Then let us see this demonstration. And may it bring understanding rather than fear. As she walked back to her quarters to prepare, the princess could not shake the feeling that her world had changed forever. The humans were not what her people had expected. They were something far more extraordinary. Sergeant Kyle Peterson stood in the middle of the observation room wearing workout clothes and a smile. He was a big man, tall and muscular, with short brown hair and an easygoing attitude. He didn't seem nervous at all, even though half a dozen aliens were staring at him with strange monitoring devices. Whenever you're ready, Sergeant, Captain Morrison said from the viewing area above. Yes, sir, Kyle said, giving a casual salute. Princess Zarathel watched from behind a transparent barrier. Scholar Temris and the Velkari medical expert, Zindal, had attached several small devices to Kyle's skin. They monitored his heart, his brain waves, his muscle activity, and his body temperature. His baseline readings are remarkable, Zindal said in their language. His heart rate is slow and steady. His body temperature is already lower than ours, and he has not even begun exerting himself. Let us see what happens when he does, the princess replied. The demonstration began at what the humans called 0600 hours, 6 in the morning. Kyle started with what he called morning combat training. For 2 solid hours, Kyle practiced fighting techniques. He punched heavy bags until they swung wildly on their chains. He performed throws and grappling moves with a training partner. He ran through combat scenarios, moving fast and striking hard. His body gleamed with moisture that Lisa explained was sweat, their cooling system. Zarathel watched in amazement as Kyle's temperature stayed stable despite the intense activity. The sweat dripped off him constantly, but his body did not overheat like hers would have. When the 2 hours ended, Kyle was breathing hard and his muscles were pumped with blood. But he did not collapse. He did not need to lie down. He simply drank some water, wiped his face with a towel, and smiled. Good workout, he said cheerfully. Impossible, Zindal whispered, checking the monitors. He should be completely exhausted. His body has been under extreme stress for 2 hours. Wait, Lisa said. Watch what happens now. Kyle sat down and rested for 45 minutes. He ate some food, drank more water, and talked casually with other crew members. When he stood up again, his heart rate had returned almost to normal. His breathing was easy. He looked ready to go again. "No," Zarathel said. "He cannot possibly be recovered." But Kyle proved her wrong. For the next 3 hours, he worked on equipment maintenance. He crawled into tight spaces to fix machinery. He carried heavy parts across the ship. He worked with tools and electronics, his hands steady and his mind focused. "This is the second major effort," Scholar Temris noted. "Among our people, he would need to rest for 8 hours now." Instead, Kyle took a 30-minute lunch break. He ate a large meal, joked with his friends, and then reported for the next activity. The afternoon brought a tactical planning session. For 2 hours, Kyle sat in a classroom with other Marines and worked through complex battle scenarios. He had to think strategically, solve problems, and make quick decisions under pressure. Mental work, not physical, but still demanding. Zarathel watched his brain activity spike during difficult problems, then settle during easier moments. But it never showed the signs of deep fatigue that her people would experience. When the planning session ended, Kyle went straight to the gym for physical fitness training. Another hour and a half of intense exercise, running, lifting weights, climbing ropes, doing exercises that made his muscles burn and his lungs work hard. "This is the 4th major effort," the princess said, counting on her fingers. 4 in one day. This should not be possible." "He's not done yet," Commander Rodriguez said from beside her. After another short rest and more water, Kyle taught a class on survival techniques to younger crew members. He talked for 2 hours, demonstrating skills and answering questions. He was animated and energetic, showing no signs of the exhaustion that should have crushed him by now. 5 major efforts," Zindal said in disbelief, "and his vital signs remain within acceptable ranges." Then came an emergency drill. Alarms blared throughout the ship. Kyle and his unit had to respond to a simulated hull breach. They ran through corridors, sealed emergency doors, rescued dummy casualties, and worked frantically for a full hour to contain the fake disaster. When it was over, Kyle was sweating heavily again and breathing hard. But he was grinning. "That was a good drill," he said. "Really kept us on our toes." 6, Zarathel whispered. 6 major efforts in one day. "Ma'am, we're only at hour 15 of his day," Lisa pointed out gently. "He still has about 4 hours before his sleep cycle." The princess felt faint. She had to sit down. Kyle spent the next hour in recreational time, playing a game called basketball with other crew members. He ran, jumped, and competed with energy that seemed impossible after everything he had already done. 7, Scholar Temris said, his voice filled with awe. Finally, Kyle spent 2 hours on administrative duties. He filled out reports, checked equipment inventories, and handled the paperwork that came with his position. Mental work again, requiring focus and attention to detail. When those 2 hours ended, Kyle Peterson had been active for 17 hours. He had performed 8 major efforts, ranging from intense physical combat training to complex mental tasks. He had rested only in short bursts between activities. "How do you feel, Sergeant?" Jake asked over the communication system. Kyle stretched his arms over his head and yawned. "Pretty tired, sir. Ready for some sleep." "Pretty tired?" Zarathel stood up, her voice shaking. "You should be dead, or at minimum, unconscious." Kyle laughed. "Nah, it was a busy day, but nothing crazy. I've had harder days during field operations." "Harder?" The princess could barely speak. "You have done harder days than this?" "Sure," Kyle said. "In combat situations or during disaster relief, we sometimes work for 24 hours straight. That's really tough, and you're pretty wrecked afterward. But you can do it when you have to." Zindal was staring at the monitors like they had betrayed him. "His body is tired, yes. His muscles show fatigue markers, but he is fully functional. His mind is still sharp. He could continue if required. We won't require it, Jake said. Get some rest, Sergeant. You've earned it. Thank you, sir, Kyle said. He grabbed his things and headed off to his quarters, whistling a tune as he walked. The Velkari sat in stunned silence for several minutes. Finally, Princess Zarathel spoke. I owe you an apology, Captain Morrison. For what? Jake asked. Yesterday, when you told me humans could cope with stress 5 to 8 times per day, I thought you were exaggerating, perhaps lying to impress us. She looked at him directly. You were not lying. If anything, you were being modest. Sergeant Peterson is a good Marine, but he's not exceptional, Jake said. Most healthy humans could do what he did today. Some could do more. More, the princess repeated. The word felt heavy in her mouth. Princess, Lisa said gently, you look exhausted. Have you been awake too long? Zarathel checked the time. She had been awake for only 6 hours, but she felt drained. Watching the demonstration had been mentally exhausting. She needed rest. Yes, she admitted. I must sleep now. Of course, Jake said. We can discuss what we've learned tomorrow. As the princess walked slowly to her quarters, her mind raced despite her fatigue. She had witnessed something that changed her understanding of the universe. Humans were not just another species. They were something unique, something powerful in a way her people had never imagined. They did not have better weapons than the Velkari. Their ships were not more advanced. Their technology was actually less developed in many ways. But they had something her people lacked. They had endurance, the ability to keep going when others stopped, to work when others rested, to push forward when others fell back. And in the long run, the princess realized, that might matter more than any weapon or technology ever could. She fell asleep thinking about what this meant for her empire, for her people, and for the future of both species in the vast and dangerous galaxy. Princess Zarathel slept for 16 hours after witnessing the demonstration. When she woke, she found Captain Morrison had arranged a private meeting with Dr. Lisa Chen. The princess needed answers, and Lisa was the best person to provide them. They met in a quiet room with comfortable chairs and soft lighting. Lisa brought tea for both of them, though the Velkari version was different from the human kind. Thank you for meeting with me, Doctor, Zarathel said. I have many questions. I'm happy to help, Lisa replied with a warm smile. Where would you like to start? I want to understand why, the princess said simply. Why can your people do what mine cannot? What makes you so different? Lisa pulled up a display screen. It showed images of early humans, primitive versions from thousands of years ago. It starts with our evolution, Lisa explained. Humans evolved on a planet with many predators and challenges. We were not the fastest animals. We were not the strongest. We did not have claws or thick armor. Then how did you survive? Zarathel asked. We outlasted everything else, Lisa said. Our ancestors developed a hunting technique called persistence hunting. We would chase prey animals for hours and hours until they collapsed from exhaustion. The princess stared at the screen. You hunted by making your prey too tired to run? Exactly, Lisa said. An antelope can run faster than a human, but it cannot run for as long. It will overheat and have to stop. Humans can jog for hours without stopping. We would follow the animal until it simply could not go any further. That is disturbing, Zarathel admitted, but effective. Over millions of years, this shaped our bodies, Lisa continued. She brought up diagrams showing human anatomy. We developed sweat glands all over our skin. We can cool ourselves through evaporation. Most animals cannot do this effectively. They overheat during extended activity. We overheat very quickly, the princess said quietly. After 1 hour of hard work, we must stop. Humans can work hard for many hours because we stay cool, Lisa explained. And our metabolism is designed for recovery. We process stress hormones quickly. When we rest briefly, our bodies flush out the chemicals that cause fatigue. We can be ready to go again in just 30 to 40 minutes. Zarathel absorbed this information. So your bodies are built for repeated efforts. Yes, Lisa said. We also developed efficient energy systems. We can burn fat for fuel during long efforts. Our muscles can work for extended periods without giving out, and our hearts are very strong. They can pump blood hour after hour without failing. The princess stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Tell me about sleep. Why do you need so little? Our sleep is very efficient, Lisa said. We cycle through different stages quickly. We repair our bodies and minds in just 7 to 8 hours. Some people need less. I know crew members who function well on 6 hours. We need 16 hours, Zarathel said. Sometimes 18. Our bodies repair slowly. Different evolutionary paths, Lisa said gently. Your people probably evolved on a safer world. You did not need to work constantly just to survive. The princess turned back to face Lisa. What else? There must be more. Our brains are wired for problem-solving under stress, Lisa continued. We actually think more clearly when we face challenges. Stress hormones sharpen our minds instead of dulling them. We can make decisions quickly, act on them, and then move to the next problem. For us, too much stress clouds our thinking, the princess admitted. After 2 major challenges, our minds become fuzzy. We make mistakes. Humans make mistakes too, Lisa assured her. But we can push through mental fatigue longer than most species, it seems. There was a knock on the door. Engineer Danny Wright entered, followed by several other crew members, Nurse Amy Clark, pilot Chris Baker, and a few others. Sorry to interrupt, Danny said, but the princess wanted to see regular crew routines, right? We thought we'd show her a normal day shift. Over the next few hours, Zarathel followed the crew members through their duties. Danny worked on engine repairs for 3 hours straight, solving complex mechanical problems. When he took a lunch break, he ate quickly and was back to work within 45 minutes. Amy handled medical duties, treating minor injuries, running health checks, and teaching a first aid class. She moved from task to task with barely a pause between them. Chris ran flight simulations, practiced emergency procedures, and then helped train newer pilots. His mind stayed sharp through hours of focus-intensive work. This is normal for all of you? The princess asked during a break. Pretty much, Danny said, wiping grease from his hands. Some days are harder, some are easier. But yeah, this is a typical shift. Do you ever wish you could rest more? She asked. The crew members looked at each other and laughed. Sometimes, sure, Amy said. But honestly, I'd get bored if I had to rest 16 hours a day. What would I do with all that time? Rest, Zarathel said. Sleep. Meditate. Recover. We recover while we sleep for 8 hours, Chris pointed out. The rest of the time, we want to be doing things. Working, playing, learning. Humans don't like being still for too long. Scholar Temris, who had been observing quietly, spoke up. Princess, I have completed my analysis of the human data. May I share my findings? Please, she said. Temris brought up charts and graphs. Humans can perform 5 to 8 high-intensity efforts per day, as they claimed, but they can also perform many more low to moderate-intensity tasks. In a single day, a human might complete 20 or 30 different activities. 20 or 30, Zarathel repeated. Yes, Temris confirmed. They wake, exercise, eat, work on task 1, have a meeting, work on task 2, eat again, work on task 3, help a colleague, attend training, socialize, work on task 4, and so on. They move from activity to activity with minimal rest between them. We can manage perhaps 5 or 6 activities total in a day, the princess said softly, and we must rest between each one. Precisely, Temris said. This means humans can accomplish in one day what takes our people 3 or 4 days to complete. The princess felt the weight of this revelation. No wonder they expanded so quickly. They work 3 times faster than we do. It's not about working faster, Lisa corrected gently. We just work longer hours. But please understand, Princess, this does not make us better than your people, just different. Different in a way that matters greatly, Zarathel said. Dr. Chen, I must ask you something personal. Do you know what has happened to my empire over the last 300 years? Not really, Lisa admitted. We've only just met you. The princess took a deep breath. We are in decline. Slow, gradual decline. We expand very slowly because every effort exhausts us. We cannot respond quickly to threats because we must rest so much. Projects that should take years take decades. Problems that should be solved quickly linger for generations. She looked at the humans around her. We thought it was normal. We thought all species worked as we do. But now I see the truth. We are not normal. You are not normal. We are on different paths. Princess, Captain Morrison said, entering the room, your people have achieved amazing things. Your technology is more advanced than ours in many ways. Your culture has survived for thousands of years. Yes, she agreed. But we did it all so slowly. And meanwhile, your species rose from primitive hunters to space explorers in just a few thousand years. In the time it takes my people to build 1 space station, you build 10. Different strengths, Jake said. You have wisdom we lack, patience we don't have, technology we're still learning about. Zarathel smiled sadly. Kind words, Captain, but I have seen the future now. I have seen what your species can do, and I am both hopeful and frightened. Frightened? Lisa asked. Why? Because a species that can work 3 times longer than mine, that can cope with stress 8 times a day while we manage only twice, that can spread across the stars like a wave while we move like a tide. Such a species will inherit the galaxy, whether they mean to or not. The room was quiet for a moment. Princess, Jake said firmly, we're not looking to inherit anything. We're looking for partners, friends, allies. She studied his face for a long moment. I believe you, Captain, and that gives me hope. Because if humans choose cooperation over conquest, we might all survive what comes next. What comes next? Danny asked. The princess looked out at the stars again. Change, Engineer Wright. Great change. For all of us. 3 weeks had passed since Princess Zarathel first boarded the horizon's edge. In that time, she had learned more about humanity than she had thought possible. Now she stood in her quarters, preparing to return home to the Velkari Empire. But she was not the same person who had arrived. Captain Jake Morrison came to see her off personally. Thank you for your hospitality, Captain, she said. This experience has been enlightening. I hope it's been good enlightening, not scary enlightening, Jake said with a slight smile. She laughed softly. Both, if I am honest. I return home with knowledge that will change everything for my people. What will you tell them? He asked. The truth, she replied. That we have found a species that challenges everything we thought we knew about life in the galaxy, and that we must decide whether to fear them or befriend them. I hope you'll recommend friendship, Jake said. I will, Zarathel promised. But it will not be easy. My people are proud. Learning that we are limited compared to humanity will be difficult for many to accept. She left the horizon's edge and returned to Velkari space. The journey home took 2 weeks. She spent most of that time preparing her report and considering how to present the information to her father, Emperor Zelvath, and the Imperial Council. When she finally stood before the council in the great hall of the palace, she spoke clearly and calmly. She told them about human endurance, about their ability to work 16 hours a day, about how they could face challenges 8 times daily while the Velkari managed only 2 or 3. The council erupted in debate. "Impossible," said one elder. "No species can function that way." "I have seen it with my own eyes," Zarathel said. "I have measurements and data from our scholars. It is true." "Then they are dangerous," another council member declared. "We should avoid contact with them. Or destroy them before they become a threat," suggested a military advisor. "No," the princess said firmly. "They seek friendship, not conquest. And even if we wanted to fight them, we would lose." This caused an uproar. "How can you say that?" demanded the military advisor. "Because in the time it takes us to prepare for 1 battle, they can prepare for 3, she explained. "They work while we rest. They solve problems while we sleep. They adapt and change faster than we can imagine." Emperor Zelvath raised his hand for silence. The room grew quiet. "My daughter," he said, "what do you recommend?" "Alliance," she answered. "We offer them what they lack: our long-term wisdom, our advanced technology in certain fields, our experience spanning thousands of years. In return, they can help us with their energy and drive." "They will overtake us," someone said bitterly. "They will overtake us anyway," Zarathel countered. "In 50 years, maybe less, they will have technology equal to ours. In 100 years, they will surpass us in many areas. This is inevitable, unless we help guide their development while learning from their strengths." The emperor considered this. "You propose we teach them our ways, and they teach us theirs?" "Yes, father. A true exchange. We show them how to think in centuries instead of decades. They show us how to accomplish more with the time we have." After hours of debate, the council voted. By a narrow margin, they agreed to pursue an alliance with humanity. Princess Zarathel sent a message to Captain Morrison. Within a month, a formal meeting was arranged. The Emperor himself would meet with representatives from Earth. The negotiations took place on a neutral station between their territories. Admiral Nicole Stevens represented humanity, along with Captain Morrison and Dr. Chen. Emperor Zelvath came with Princess Zarathel and Ambassador Krelvan. "We propose a joint research station," the Emperor said during the first session. "A place where both species can study together, learn from each other." "We accept," Admiral Stevens said, "but we want to ensure this benefits both parties equally." "Agreed," the Emperor said. "We will share our longevity treatments with you. Our medical technology can extend human lifespans significantly." The humans exchanged excited glances. Lisa leaned forward. "How significantly?" "We have lived for 300 years or more," the Emperor said. "We cannot promise you will live that long. Your biology is different, but we believe we can help humans live 50 to 70 years longer than you currently do." "In exchange," Ambassador Krelvan said, "we wish to learn about your exercise science, your recovery techniques, and your methods for maintaining efficiency during long work periods." "You want to learn how to work longer?" Jake asked. "We want to learn how to be more than we are," Princess Zarathel said quietly. "We are tired of watching our empire move so slowly while the galaxy changes around us." Over the next few days, they hammered out the details. The joint research station would be built in neutral space. Scientists and scholars from both species would work there together. Humans would share their knowledge of endurance and recovery. The Velkari would share their medical advances and long-term planning methods. On the 3rd day, Princess Zarathel made a personal request. "Admiral Stevens, I would like to spend a year studying aboard a human vessel, living as your people live, working as you work." The Admiral raised an eyebrow. "That's quite a commitment, Princess." "I know," she said, "but if I am to help bridge our 2 species, I must truly understand yours. Not just observe, but experience." "The Horizon's Edge would be honored to host you," Jake offered. "Then it is settled." the Emperor said, though he looked worried about his daughter's safety. The treaty was signed 3 weeks later. The Alliance of Mutual Advancement, they called it. Both species committed to sharing knowledge, defending each other from external threats, and working toward a common future. Princess Zarathel returned to the horizon's edge as promised. At first, it was difficult. She tried to adopt a human schedule and nearly collapsed from exhaustion. Dr. Chen had to intervene. "You can't just jump into our routine," Lisa explained gently. "Your body isn't built for it. We need to train you gradually." They started with simple exercises, basic workouts that Lisa designed specifically for Velkari biology. Zarathel worked out for 30 minutes, then rested. The next week, they increased it to 45 minutes, then an hour. She learned about human nutrition and ate foods that helped with energy and recovery. She practiced the human technique of taking short breaks instead of long rest periods. After 3 months, she could work for 6 hours with only short breaks. It was nowhere near human levels, but it was twice what she had managed before. After 6 months, she participated in an emergency drill and managed 4 high-intensity efforts in one day. She was exhausted afterward and needed 12 hours of rest instead of her usual 16, but she had done it. Jake found her sitting in the observation deck late one night, looking at the stars. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "I slept only 10 hours today," she said with a tired smile. "My body is confused." "You're doing great," he said, sitting beside her. "Better than we expected." "I will never match human endurance," she said. "My biology has limits." "You've already exceeded what you thought possible," Jake pointed out. "That's what matters." She was quiet for a moment. "Captain, I have been thinking. Your people spread so fast because you work so hard. My people move slowly because we rest so much. But perhaps there is wisdom in both approaches." "How so?" he asked. "Humans accomplish much, but you sometimes burn out," she said. "You push too hard and make mistakes. My people accomplish less, but we rarely make hasty decisions. We think in longer terms. So together we balance each other out," Jake said. "Exactly," Zarathel said. "We teach you patience. You teach us persistence. We both become stronger." 6 months later, Princess Zarathel sent a message to Captain Morrison. It was simple but profound. "Captain, I want to tell you something. Yesterday, I completed 4 major efforts in one day. I exercised in the morning, studied for 3 hours, helped repair equipment, and participated in a tactical planning session. I rested for only 11 hours last night and woke feeling good." "That's amazing, Princess," Jake replied. "But that is not what I wanted to tell you," she continued. "What I wanted to say is this. I finally understand. Humanity does not just survive. You do not just work hard. You thrive on challenge itself. You find joy in pushing forward, in testing your limits, in seeing what you can do." She paused. "For so long, my people have been content to simply exist, to maintain what we have. But you have shown me something different. You have shown me that there is joy in the struggle, in the effort, in becoming more than you were yesterday." "Princess," Jake said warmly, "that might be the nicest thing anyone has ever said about humanity." "It is the truth," she replied, "and it is why I believe our alliance will work. Because you are teaching my people to dream again, to strive, to reach for more than we thought possible." 2 years after the first meeting between humans and Velkari, the joint research station was complete. Scientists from both species worked side by side. Humans lived longer thanks to Velkari medicine. Velkari accomplished more thanks to human techniques. Princess Zarathel stood at the station's observation deck with Jake Morrison beside her. "We did it," she said quietly. "We did," Jake agreed. 2 species, working together, building something better than either could build alone. She smiled. "You know what the council asked me last week?" They asked how many times I can cope with stress in a single day now. What did you tell them? Jake asked. I told them 4 times, maybe 5 on a good day, she said. Still nowhere near human levels, but more than double what I could do before. And what did they say? They said that if I can improve that much, perhaps the Empire can too, she replied. We are building new training programs, new work schedules, new ways of thinking about what is possible. Change is coming, Jake said. Yes, Princess Zarathel agreed, for both our peoples, and I think it will be good change. She looked out at the stars, at the vast galaxy full of possibilities. Somewhere out there, human and Velkari ships were exploring together. Scientists were making discoveries together. 2 species, so different, learning to work as one. Thank you, Captain, she said softly. For what? He asked. For showing me that limits are often just things we accept without question, she said. And that sometimes the most important question is not how much can we do, but how much more could we do if we tried? Jake smiled. You're welcome, Princess, and thank you for giving us a chance. The chance is mutual, she replied. We give each other the chance to be more than we are alone. And as they stood together looking at the stars, both human and Velkari, they knew that this was just the beginning of a friendship that would reshape the galaxy. The beginning of an alliance that would prove that different strengths, combined, could create something truly extraordinary. The alien princess had asked how many times humans could cope with stress in a single day. The answer had left her speechless, but in the end it had also given her hope. Hope for her people, hope for humanity, hope for all the possibilities that lay ahead. And that perhaps was the most valuable answer of all.